Hello, I'm Ilise Levine, Director of Sales and Marketing for Shadow Mountain Publishing, and I'd like to introduce you to our 2021 titles. Missing Oakley is a new fall title from Laura Ojeda Melchior. It's about two sisters. Oakley is the perfect little sister, her parents' favorite, and beloved in her town for her sunny disposition, which makes it hard for Phoebe to be heard and understood. The sisters have a special tradition. To celebrate the first hint of spring, they hold hands and cross the cold rushing river together. This year, Oakley is determined to do it by herself, without holding Phoebe's hand. As she wades into the water, she tries to physically force Phoebe back to the shore. In the struggle to break from Phoebe's grip, Oakley yells at her sister to stop shoving her. A girl from school is watching this from afar, and from her perspective, it looks like Phoebe pushes Oakley into the river, although in reality, Oakley loses her footing and drowns. Phoebe is grief-stricken and scared. She lies to the police, telling them Oakley was at the river alone. Her mother is now battling severe depression from Oakley's death, and that leaves Phoebe feeling burdened and very much alone. The story, told in first person from Phoebe's perspective, explores dealing with life's hard challenges, the impact of secrets kept and lies told, and finding your own voice. And there's a very timely sub-theme about how even an eyewitness account can be misleading and inaccurate. New from Wendy S. Swore, the author of A Monster Like Me. Alexis is a native Hawaiian who has a fear of the water, and her mom works as a civilian in naval intelligence, which takes her away a lot on some risky missions and reinforces Alexis's sense that the world has a disquieting current of inherent danger. As the story unfolds, we realize the origin of her water fear is that she was startled in a cove by the sight of a viper moray eel, and now she's afraid of the ocean for fear of what might be lurking beneath. And her journey is to rely on her community, largely her neighbor, Uncle Tanaka, to help her reframe her perspective. She goes with Tanaka to gather marine specimens, and he nurtures a sea turtle back to health, and slowly she begins to see the ocean through his eyes. This title features a multicultural cast of Pacific Islanders. Told from the point of view of Stella, a beagle who works in law enforcement, and on a routine call, Stella is momentarily distracted and misses the scent of an explosive which detonates, taking the life of her handler. Stella experiences anxiety and blames herself. She thinks surely she is a bad dog. A dog training expert agrees to foster her. Although sad, Stella becomes fond of the trainer's daughter, Chloe, who has epilepsy. As they spend time together, Stella realizes she can smell a chemical surge before Chloe has a seizure and warn her, and in doing so, Stella finds a new purpose in her life of service. This is a look at some recent titles. Real is based on the true story of one of the co-authors, Peyton Goddard. It's about a girl with non-speaking autism who wants to go to a public school and must overcome the challenges and objections of students and their parents who don't understand autism and want her sent away to a special ed school where she's had problems before. There's a PDF, Tips for Inclusion from the authors, which you can find in our Edelweiss catalog. Dragonwatch by Brandon Mull is the sequel series to Fablehaven. And coming in May is Legend of the Dragon Slayer. This is a first ever visual discovery of the origin story of Dragonwatch. It has character insights from author Brandon Mull and clues to the series finale, Return of the Dragon Slayer, which will be out in late October. And coming in August is a new fantasy by Frank L. Cole called Champion's Quest, about a bunch of kids who see a weird curiosity shop in town, and the window display proves far too tempting. So they go into the store to explore, and that transports them straight from their hometown in West Virginia to a role-playing game, something like Dungeons and Dragons, where they have to overcome their real-world vulnerabilities to outwit and outplay their game foes. Moving on to picture books, A Child of God conveys a comforting message from a Black father and mother to their children who see visual representations of their Christian faith, but question what it means when they don't see their skin color, their physical features, or their gender portrayed. In soothing verse, the father reminds his children that pictures of faith, such as angels, were drawn by someone, and he encourages his children to draw their own pictures so angels look like all of us. This is a gentle but highly impactful way to introduce how pervasive lack of representation is in our culture and how it affects the BIPOC community. New in nonfiction, these are adult titles, but they are suitable for YA as well. The Immortals were 4 heroic chaplains, each of a different faith in World War II. When their ship was sunk by a Nazi torpedo, the chaplains calmly helped 900 men through the chaos of abandoning ship, distributing life jackets, including their own when supplies ran out. In their final moments, arms linked together on deck, a survivor reported seeing them and said, "I could hear men crying, pleading, praying. I could also hear the chaplains preaching courage. Their voices were the only thing that kept me going." And coming in fall of 21, the genesis of why we fought is a question many readers of nonfiction, myself included, always ask ourselves when we're reading about World War II. What would I have done in the same circumstance? These are 7 largely untold stories to illustrate that World War II was fought on front lines far beyond conventional battlefields. These are stories of ordinary men and women who would not surrender or compromise. They resisted and fought with total commitment for freedom and democracy, despite the personal cost. This history is in itself a civics lesson in how citizens have defended democratic values. Some were ordinary citizens like William Siebold, a German immigrant from World War I and a U.S. citizen in World War II, who could have been a deadly foe, but instead chose the Allied cause. When he was coerced by the Gestapo into becoming a spy in America, he instead approached the FBI and offered to become a double agent. His efforts successfully helped bring down a dangerous German spy network that was dedicated to stealing industrial and wartime secrets and sabotaging America on home soil. Moving on to historical fiction, these titles were also suitable for YA, are especially relevant in our troubled times as ordinary citizens in these books face the political and social upheavals of their generation. New from Cameron Wright, best-selling author of The Rent Collector and The Orphan Keeper, in Times of Rain and War, is about an American soldier working in London during the Blitz in World War II in the very dangerous bomb squad. And he meets a woman who has a secret. She is German and she is Jewish. In the Edelweiss catalog, you'll find book club discussion questions, author videos, and links to source material Cameron Wright used in his research. Beyond the Lavender Fields takes place on the eve of the French Revolution, as the 2 protagonists represent both sides of the conflict, the aristocracy who want to maintain the feudal system of privilege, and the workers who want to dethrone their king and create a democratic French Republic. Coming in fall from Heather B. Moore, The Slow March of Light is a 1961 Cold War drama about an American spy undercover in East Germany and a West German woman who joins a spy network to help smuggle East Germans to democratic West Germany and freedom. It's told in alternating chapters, and having the female and male perspective gives it an interesting depth in storytelling. Bob, on whose real life this novel is based, is doing his duty as a drafted soldier and is suspected of photographing military targets. Turned into the Stasi secret police, by the way, by an informant who was a work colleague, and he is sent to a German prison where he is tortured. Louisa works to free her countrymen, including her grandmother, smuggling in fake IDs and making daring escapes in underground tunnels. This author, Heather B. Moore, is particularly adroit in conveying the horrible, oppressive East German police state and the emotions of citizens willing to risk their lives and sometimes unsuspecting family members and take desperate actions for themselves and others for a chance at freedom in the West. The Paper Daughters of Chinatown is new in paperback in the fall. It's a story of Chinese women who are tricked into coming to America, thinking they would wed wealthy husbands, but instead unscrupulous gang members beat them and drug them into lives of despair in prostitution in San Francisco in the 19th century. Local authorities were either corrupt or turned a blind eye, but Donaldina Cameron and other social justice activists took matters into their own hands to free these women and get them legal status in America. Finally, proper romance. This year, romance books have surged in popularity, partly because of the desire for escapism, but also the success of Bridgerton on Netflix has brought many more readers into this genre. These heroines are not damsels in distress awaiting rescue. They are women of privilege who have had the rug pulled out from under them, and so their journey is first the search for self-acceptance, and then the search for true and unconditional love. These are all clean content, meaning there's no explicit onstage sex, so these titles are suitable for all ages. Titles are available as EARCs on Edelweiss and NetGalley. Thank you.